Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. His mercies are everlasting, and his truth endureth for all generations. It's another great day in the village of Lafayette. I'm one half of the B&B combination, the duo, John GODBOLT, and pushing the buttons and making me sound so professional is Bishop Carl Brinkley Jr. as we start another Wow Word on Wednesday with B&B. And it's always a great privilege to have you, our guests, following us, sharing with us as we push through and make your day a lot brighter. And we got some great guests, our regular monthly guests in the studios with us today. But before I turn them on and talk with them, I got to give you a word for the day. It's called The Greatest Tragedy. Psalm 118, verse 24 says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." Now, the greatest tragedy of man is overlooking the gift of the present, searching through the shadows for the future. God has designed this day for us. Tomorrow actually is a day that never comes. So no matter what's in the day, he said, the psalmist says to be glad in it, and because it is what God has done for you. In other words, rejoicing is not an emotion, it's a choice. It's a choice without feeling. So you got to make up in your mind, as I've learned, draw your circle of influence and what you can do inside of it, work with it, and everything that you can't do outside that circle, turn it over to God, give him praise in it, put it in his hand, and keep on moving, keep it trucking, keep it pushing. Tragedy of the day is not using this day that God has given you, losing a day worrying about tomorrow. So this is the day. What are you going to do about it? And what are you going to do with it? Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day you're giving us. And as we are here honoring you, our prayer is that what we do and say truly honors your great and mighty name. Thank you for the gift of life, health, and strength, your son, who's given us life, who's giving his life for us, and we don't take that for granted. So order our steps in your word, that we may glorify your great and mighty name. We give you praise for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we got to get started again. Again, thank you, Bishop, for pushing the buttons and helping us get started. In the studios with us today is, of course, Regina Wesley from A Place for Us Counseling and Consulting Agency, and Dr. Tim Newsom from Curative Mind Health. I learned not to leave out the word health. Mind and body, Dr. Tim Newsom. Again, welcome being back with us again on this month. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being here.
Listen, I got introduced this way. Last month, we had this incredible workshop with these two people at our church. It was our leadership team. We learned that you can be leading people spiritually, but if your stuff is kind of jacked up in your own mind, you'll just be talking outside of your neck. You'll be like Samson, laying in bed with somebody else and getting up in the morning shaking and binding spirits and being bound by those spirits. But what we learned is there's a war within. It's not just what we do outwardly, and we've got to learn how to win the war within. So that was the title of our workshop with Dr. Newsom and Elder Regina Wesley. And again, I just thank both of you for coming in. We figured out already this is going to be a part 1, part 2, and maybe a part 3, depending on how we really win this war within. But let's just start first of all. What is mental health, and then what is good mental health? So,
thank you so much for being here, Bishop, and thank you for asking. Mental health really is just how a person is able to live day to day. If they have any issues in their life, it just really socially, emotionally, physically. We talk about their social well-being, how it affects them, how they're able to manage their day-to-day living environment, how they able to go to work, function with their families, be in relationships. So mental health, people sometimes are afraid of that topic because they don't know what it is. But really, it's how they're able to go about their day-to-day living in their lives. It affects how we think, how we act, how we feel. If we can maintain relationships, if we can maintain employment, if we can maintain our jobs, whatever it may be, that's just your overall well-being. That's what mental health is.
Okay.
And also, when we think of mental health, most people think of mental health as an adult. Mm-hmm. But mental health starts when you're born.
Okay.
And your level of mental health helps you navigate through life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we take that for granted, but we really shouldn't. We have to realize that our kids have mental health that they need to develop. Then we need the culture.
Right.
Because a lot of those scars and things we have as an adult came from our childhood.
As you mentioned that, it brought back to my mind what we learned in education, that a child's IQ can either go up or down 15 points based on their environment.
Right.
So when you see those factors, we're recognizing, no wonder we have such dysfunctionality or what happened.
And there's been studies showing that impairments to mental health at a young age also affects growth as well as cognitive ability.
Yeah.
Right.
And so some of our problems come from that lack of mental health maintenance when we were younger, even 2 and 3 years old.
Wow, you're gonna make me preach. I'm hearing Solomon say, "Train up a child in the way he should go."
That's right.
And when he's old, he won't depart from it. So we put all those things together and start looking at mental health. Now, let's talk about the myths of what we call good mental health versus what is true mental health. What does that look like?
Also, let me just add to mental health is also how we manage stress. Everybody has stress. Nobody is exempt from having stress. But good mental health is how we're able to manage our stress. So I think that's very important.
Okay.
So you want to go with the myths?
Oh, well, there's a lot of myths, but the main ones include, we think good mental health means life with no problems.
Right.
Happy 24/7. Content 24/7.
You mean to tell me I can't find that place, Tim?
No.
Come on, man. Come on.
There is no place.
Not on this earth. No.
Yeah, being perfect, always positive, Yeah, so there's plenty of myths out there, and some of them are even spiritual. We attribute bad mental health to being possessed or having a family curse, which there are curses, but there are some things that happen in the real world, not associated with the spiritual world, that can cause some mental health impairments.
Right.
So feeling jolly and happy 24/7 is not going to happen.
It is not. That really is a myth. And people are fooling themselves. They think they're going to have a life like that. But there are some truths to what good mental health is. It is possessing a high degree of self-awareness, being very self-aware of yourself and the issues. I tell clients all the time, you know yourself better than anybody else. Okay. And you have to listen to your accountability partners, people that you in your family that will tell you the truth. But you being self-aware is very good mental health, and being able to ask for help when you need it. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. When you do not ask for help, that's a sign of poor mental health. But you have to be able to know that your body is unregulated. Your emotions are up and down. You flying off the handle for no reason. So being self-aware is a good sign of mental health.
Okay.
And you have to be careful with the self-awareness piece, because there's a negative tone you can take with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to give yourself grace and realize that you're human and you're not perfect. So this self-awareness does not include condemning yourself every 5 minutes and taking a negative outlook on who you are.
Okay.
You have to learn how to love yourself. That's the beginning of healing. So a positive outlook on your self-awareness.
Right.
I know we're going to get to a point where we can test to make sure that, okay, I need to feel, like you said, I know myself better than anybody else. So I need to recognize, even if I'm not flying off the handle, I might be going into a shell as well. Okay.
Right.
Talk to that for.
So when we get to know ourselves, when we have good mental health, we have telltale signs in our body. So sometimes that may be not being able to sleep well, not having a short fuse, not being able to communicate well. So those are some telltale signs. But sometimes there are some emotional signs that we can't determine ourselves, and we need someone to help us to be able to say, I think something is off with me. That's what I meant by being self-aware. You know yourself better than anyone else. So don't be afraid to check yourself with something or somebody. Especially we talked about in the spiritual realm, we know by reading our Bible, studying the Word of God, being involved in a church. If you have issues, at one point you had no problems being in groups, being in fellowships, you were able to do that, but all of a sudden you can't do it anymore, that's a telltale sign something's going wrong in your body.
As you're talking about this, I'm looking at when Peter had made this decision. He was vacillating from one thing to the other, but he had to be confronted by Paul to say, listen, you can't put this on another group of people. And being able to be confronted by someone to tell you the truth is a balance. He can't be just spiritual, even though you feel with the Holy Ghost you walk with Jesus, Peter. You still got some issues going on in your personal life that you got to deal with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we weren't made to be alone.
Okay.
I mean, when we think alone, we are alone. We don't have anything to kind of take ideas and bounce off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then our thoughts may become distorted because you're your only counsel. You know what I mean? And if you're down in a rabbit hole having bad thoughts,
Wow.
that's not rational,
Right.
and you're not checking them against someone else. I mean, we're made the fellowship for a reason.
That's right.
We shouldn't be on an island by ourselves, because I know each one of us had a time in our life where we've had a thought, and that thought turned into something that was totally unrealistic.
Right.
And then you may have confronted someone and found out that, hey, man, I was way off.
That's right.
I should have asked first.
That's right.
You know.
Absolutely.
I can't think. I'm laughing at myself because I remember coming home with these great thoughts of what I'm going to do, and kids in the house. I'm going to have this time, and whatever, or fix something that I thought was broken. And by the time I got home, I was already on chapter 14. They didn't even know I had the book open.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
man. It's amazing how the thoughts
That's right.
can run your life towards something.
That's right.
Let's take a moment as we can. I want to look at this mind-body connection. That's so important. You mentioned it, but we didn't get into a lot of detail about the connection with the mind, the process, and how it affects the body. Give us some feedback on that.
Well, for one, the mind the mind is a part of the body.
Okay.
That body has to be fed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you don't have an adequate diet, you don't have adequate thoughts.
Wow.
Your low blood sugar will lead you into some bad areas,
That's
as
right.
well as lack of rest. And so that body has to not only be fed, it has to be rested, it has to be exercised, and it has to be taken care of in order to keep a sound mind.
That's right.
There are plenty of mental illnesses that come from poor body maintenance.
Okay.
Plenty of mental illnesses that come
Wow.
from poor body maintenance. One of the ones I mentioned during the seminar was an elderly person who all of a sudden becomes confused and disoriented in the span of a day or two. And you think, wow, they're coming down with Alzheimer's. And you take them to the ER, and all of a sudden you find out it's a simple UTI
Wow.
that caused that mind to be so confused. And so that's some physical ailments that can affect the mind so easily that we just overlook.
And also, in addition to that, I think that it's important with just like you said in that realm, when we have clients that are dealing with mental illnesses, especially chronic mental illnesses, and need medication, we communicate that to them. Go get an evaluation. Let a psychiatric provider determine what is the right medication for you. If they take that advisement and go see someone and get medicine, they may come back in a couple of weeks to me anyway and say, Miss Wesley, I feel so much different. I had no idea. So that's important as well. That mind that's confused and in chaos, it needs something to help regulate it. And that may be medication. It may be therapy alone. It may be spiritual. I had a really deep session yesterday with a person that does not believe in God, does not believe in the Bible, does not believe in anything spiritual, but they're living in a life of chaos. And I
Gotcha.
said, I will never tell you what you must believe in. I can only tell you what I believe in. But we have to have a foundation for something. You have to anchor your minds your thoughts to something. If you don't, you will always have a life of chaos.
I remember dealing with someone who was getting ready to have surgery, and the doctors were afraid to do the physical surgery because their state of mind was not healthy. And this is something we knew about. Talk with nurses. When you bring someone in the hospital, the first thing they start doing is shooting them up with vitamin D, pump them up and you see all these things, but we don't really connect them when we start talking about, as you're saying now, church people who believe that the whole answer is in one area, one arena,
Right.
and we want that to solve all of our issues.
Right.
So let's back up. You put the statement up here: we must win the war, and it begins at birth. So run us through right now. Here's somebody. Let's take a young couple getting married. She's pregnant. They're pregnant together. How do they start dealing with winning that war at birth for their child if they didn't win it for themselves? Yeah.
Well, a lot of us come from either dysfunctional families or just lack of knowledge type places. And so it's best to do some research and use some evidence-based research that shows you how to develop the mental health of a child. And there's plenty of articles out there. The internet is full of them, but you want to use some evidence-based research.
Gotcha.
Mom and pop and grandmom's advice is great, but like I said, some of us come from dysfunctional families, and the cycle continues and continues. And so it's best to start with something that's been proven to be effective at developing a child's life, both physically and mentally.
And then making the declaration as a new parent when that child is born. You start out, of course, we're believers, and so we teach bringing them up, raising them up in church and equipping them spiritually. But as they're typically developing child, you want to monitor them, make sure they're getting what they need as far as resources. We know the first 5 years are very formative for children, and they need to be loved, they need to be nurtured, they need to be supported, they need whatever it is they need. You start meeting those needs right away, and you monitor children. What kids need as parents to be invested in them, so they will know when something possibly is going awry with them, they can start seeking some early intervention, because that's very important. Early intervention for children before they get into the school system.
Right. Okay. And there are certain milestones that have been proven that we use as providers to make sure a child is developing at the right stages of life. And parents have access to these milestones, and they can include both mental and physical and cognitive milestones that a child should be succeeding to at each stage of their life. So.
And also, too, I thought about when you asked about the pregnant mom, that's when it starts, because that war is there. So you start reading to your children, you sing to them, you talk to them. That child is hearing everything that goes on, even in the womb. And so you start that cycle very early on from day one, and that makes a difference. And then we teach parents as well. If you have an altercation, so the child is maybe 2 or 3 years old, those children are sponges. They soak up what they hear. If the parents are arguing about money, whatever it is, disagreements, there's some violence there's some trauma. These children are soaking all that up, and the war is beginning now. And some things that children experience as young people, it will affect them later in life, because they will not know how to categorize that. They will think this is what life is supposed to be, and it's not.
Now, we need to unpack that, because a lot of times when we're having these arguments, we think we had a perfect child, the child looks good, and so sometimes it comes out immediately with some kind of deformity or mental challenge the child is born with. Other times, it could be delayed.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
How important is it for us to be aware as parenting or young people having children to be careful with the way we handle ourselves?
Yeah.
It's very important. The sponge she mentioned is really underrated.
Okay.
I mean, underrated. It's so important. Kids take in everything. And we think just because the parents are getting along, but we're giving the child an iPad to entertain themselves at 2 years old. And the cartoons seem, harmless, but there's a strategy for everything.
Yes, there is.
And it may seem harmless. Good intentions will hurt anybody. So we have to be aware of what our child is exposed to.
Right.
Okay, parents, now we're in church, and you're trying to keep them quiet. What are you giving them to keep them quiet? That could be a problem.
And establishing boundaries as well.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of children that come up with suspicion of having attention deficit disorder, and sometimes that's simply from the way they were raised. They were never given boundaries.
Right.
They were never made to sit still for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And so the child doesn't know that behavior. And so is it ADHD, or is it just there were no boundaries?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I remember working with some children, trying to get them to the point of just learning how to be still. I would give them a pencil and say, I want you to look at this pencil for 30 seconds. And I'm telling you, it was hard for them to just look at the pencil. They'd be looking. I said, no, stay there. And then to get to a minute of just watching this pencil for 1 minute, concentrating their time and focusing, relaxing. That was a major challenge, because like you said, Tim and Regina, they've never had to do this in life.
Right.
And
They have not been exposed to that.
Right.
Parents, you start them out and you train them up right. You sit down with your children, you read them stories, you talk to them, you have discussions, you have dinners together. You're teaching them all of these things. But if a child is raised in a home where everybody at the dinner table is on their telephone, where's the interaction? What are they learning from that? So they're watching television, movies, video games. We have people that play video games 6 to 7 to 8 hours, believe it or not, at a time. What are you teaching your children? That this is life. They don't have any concept of quality time. with families and how to have that. So they grow up not knowing how to have good relationships. They weren't taught that. They did not have that behavior modeled for them.
Another dysfunctionality, eating together. What I'm hearing, there's not a lot of that in homes today. We heard, Bishop, we heard that call. It's dinner time. We knew everybody came, wash up, come around the table.
That's right.
There's going to be a prayer prayed.
That's right.
We're going to eat. We're going to eat together, and there won't be anything that's going to interrupt that.
That's right.
So what's happened? What's happened to that?
People are busy, too busy. They have different schedules. They don't value family time. People don't even cook dinner anymore. So you're talking about family dinners. People eat when they can. It just grab something. So kids are involved in like 15 different activities. Parents are working maybe one or two jobs. They have different schedules. There's so much that distracts them. There's so much that takes their attention away from understanding the value of quality time with families.
Well, whose fault is that? I mean, come on, really. Well, what do we need to do about this?
Well, one of the things we need to do, I think, has to go back to realizing where we are. You know what I mean? We can say, hey, back in our day, we were raised a certain way, right? And these parents today and the kids today came from a different era. But I think the parents have to realize that not only did you come from a different era, that was a major pause in socialization due to COVID.
Yes.
Due to COVID.
Okay.
And so your kids are really handicapped when it comes to socialization due to COVID, due to the isolation that was involved in COVID. So you really have to be intentional at teaching your child some people skills, some socialization skills, because COVID did some damage. I mean, we made it through physically, but there's some connections that were just destroyed.
Yeah.
And they're now reinforced due to technology.
So what you're saying is, not just like with a child, that's a parent having maybe a dysfunctional attitude with each other, have a baby. We don't see anything happening right now. The child looks fine. Some years later, maybe teenage years or adult years, we see these things come up. Could that also be an issue with us with COVID as adults? That we're now seeing some consequences of this socialization?
Yes.
Absolutely. It could.
Interesting. Hey, look, we're going to have to take a break because it's about that time. And we want to talk more about that, but also about the facade that we live in, this fake kind of mentality we put out there as human beings, thinking that, I won't do it. I'll hold on to it now. We'll do it later, because I was about to give one of those clues away that we say we are. Bishop, take us out of here, man. We'll be back, and this is B&B. Wow, Word on Wednesday with B&B. We'll be back.
North Carolina is struggling to fill thousands of vacant state jobs, from highway patrol troopers to wildfire response teams, as officials warn staffing shortages could impact emergency response. State Representative Ray Pickett, a Watauga County Republican, plans to withdraw his proposal for state-run liquor stores to operate on Sundays to instead focus on expanding the sale of pre-mixed cocktails into grocery stores. Russian President Vladimir Putin praised his close ties with Chinese leader Xi Jinping today as they opened bilateral talks in Beijing. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, says there are 600 suspected cases of Ebola in the Congo, 139 suspected deaths. The Bertie County Sheriff's Department is among those across the state hoping to increase the presence in an effort to ensure everyone enjoys Memorial Day weekend. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office property crimes detectives asked for the public's help in identifying suspects who stole 40 sheets of 716 OSB plywood and 10 sheets of TechShield insulation board from a new construction home in the 4200 block of Hallkirk Drive in Fayetteville. The suspects were caught on camera on April 26th, leaving the property with the stolen goods, driving a black Ford F-150 with a red decal on the tailgate reading EPCO 3-Way Food Mart, and displaying a fictitious North Carolina registration tag, PEF 1085. The city of Fayetteville says help shape Fayetteville's future $1 at a time. Try the interactive budget tool. Tell them how you would allocate $100 of city funds. Visit FayettevilleNC.gov/budget. Take the budget challenge to help guide the city's budget decisions. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Another warm start to the morning with some temperatures nearing records for the fourth straight day. On this Wednesday, mostly sunny, high temperatures in the mid-90s, and while we can't rule out maybe a stray shower this evening, it is mostly quiet, partly cloudy, temperatures 65 to 70 degrees. We'll see highs 88 to 90 Thursday afternoon, showers and storms becoming more likely late afternoon into the evening. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Hello, I'm Eric Hurley with the Police Department Traffic Unit. We don't write tickets to raise money. We write tickets to change behavior. Speed was the primary factor in more than 60% of the 28 fatal crashes we investigated last year. Every stop we make might be the one that prevents the next death. I'd rather give you a citation than tell your loved one you're never coming home.
I'm Detective Deal with the Fayetteville Police Department's Traffic Unit. As a crash reconstructionist, I don't guess what happened, I prove it. We measure, photograph, and digitally rebuild each fatal scene millisecond by millisecond. Speed is the most common factor we find in deadly crashes. I've seen cars split in half just because someone was in a hurry. These aren't freak accidents, they're choices, and every choice has a consequence.
If you see blue lights in 2026, expect a citation.
If we see this scene again, someone didn't listen. Your speed, your choice, your consequence.
Speed kills, respect the limit.
You have always put others before yourself. Put your country above all else. Given everything you can, every time. Now it's time to forge a new path. At Fayetteville State University, we believe your service is our debt. So we're offering free military family tuition. Yes, absolutely free. And with new programs like cybersecurity, anything really can happen. Fayetteville State University. Are you in?
Hey, Cumberland County. Looking for a job with purpose? Cumberland County government is hiring. We offer great career opportunities where you can serve your community and grow your future. Explore openings and apply today at cumberlandcountync.gov/jobs. Need help? The county's recruitment team is here to guide you every step of the way. Visit cumberlandcountync.gov/jobs to apply to join the Cumberland County team.
It's one of life's simplest comforts. Turning on the tap and knowing clean, safe water's there. A glass before bed, a warm shower in the morning, water to cook, clean, and care for loved ones. So often, it's something that can be taken for granted. But behind every drop is a commitment to quality, safety, and service. At Fayetteville PWC, providing award-winning water is more than a service. It is a responsibility and a point of pride. Delivering clean, reliable water remains a top priority for Fayetteville and surrounding communities every single day, because clean water supports healthy families, strengthens neighborhoods, and helps communities thrive today and for generations to come. Discover more about the difference quality water makes at faypwc.com. Fayetteville PWC, always there, always on, always built to serve.
Not believe it, but we are winning the war, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what the government looks like. I don't care what the enemy is doing. Jesus is Lord. To the glory of God, I'm standing on it, and no matter what it looks like, he has promised us victory. Hey, I read the back of the book, and we win. Yeah. Good morning, world. This is John Godbolt, one half of B&B, combination Wild Word on Wednesday with Bishop Carl E. Brinkley Jr. We got in the studios with us for part 2 of A Place for Us. We got the counselor, the consultant herself, Elder Regina Wesley, and our good doctor is in the house, Curative Mind Health, Mind and Body, Dr. Tim Newsom, as we're talking about winning the war within. No matter what you look like on the outside, we got to win the war within. Hey, thank you all for staying with us, and I'm sure we'll make part 2 of this because we had the same concerns as we did this with our own leadership team, and that was, we need to do this again. Oh, wow, I didn't realize. Let's talk about the facade. That's one of the shots I'm looking at now. What by definition is a facade, and then how do we play that game as human beings, as church leaders, okay?
Facade is basically, for a simple definition, is the mask we wear. It's the mask we wear to be accepted either in society or to be protected from showing our vulnerabilities, you know. And we show that mask to everyone, to include ourselves sometimes. But it's really not a good thing, but it does keep us from being questioned and does make us fit in, you know. But we really should urge to try to get away from the facade,
Okay.
when possible.
Because it's not sustainable. You can't pretend for so long. So
Okay.
when you're in relationships, you're on your jobs, you're in church, you're in leadership, that mask at some point is going to come off, whether you take it off or it slips off. And so people will need to know who you really are. So it's just not sustainable for that facade to be there, because you want to have a quality of life and enjoy life. And at some point in time, people will get to see you up close and personal, and they will say, "Oh, I didn't know that's how they were." That's what was behind the mask.
So I'm just going to ask this straight up. When people have that facade and they're able to keep the mask on and it starts to peel away, or they start to reveal who they are, could that be a possible reason for some of them leaving a church or breaking away from certain places because they are fearful of being?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And once you lose that facade and people see you for who you are, then there's no hiding.
Right.
But, you know, the older population realize, and we all realize as we get older, we can never please people.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can never please people. And
Right.
you just be unhappy wearing that mask all the time, because you're not going to please 100% of the people.
So what do we do about that? I mean, it looks like success without peace is one of the things you mentioned when we talk about facades. What does that look like?
So facade comes across a lot of different ways.
Okay.
You can see someone as being successful, especially on Facebook and Instagram, you know, and all those places.
Okay.
Everything looks perfect, but there's no peace behind it. When you walk behind that family home and open the door, there's no peace there. Even if they live alone, there may be no peace.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have some very successful people in leadership positions who are so perfect they can't even be vulnerable. They can't show weakness. And you know that they're human.
Yeah.
You know that, but that's not what they present.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about some of the pastors that we think about, and they start to fall, and we say, "What in the world?" Well, what we always saw was the cameras, lights, camera, and action, but we never saw the real person, and they never dealt with who they really are behind the gifts that was given them.
Yeah, and one of the most deceptive forms of the facade is the control.
Okay.
You know, we feel that if we can control everything,
come on,
you know, we all right. But what do we really control?
Like I said, a circle of influence.
That's right.
Probably just me.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Probably just
And
me.
you have a hard time doing that.
Oh, talk about it.
Because of that fallen seed, you know.
Yeah.
So, control without surrender.
Well, now we're back to this thing again. Me personally, I'm looking at when people carry this battle within themselves with the facade, and you're trying to keep it going, even in leadership. What would you suggest we start to do if we know we're coming to that point of we are not healed, we're sarcastic? I've seen a lot of that. Some of the preaching, or some of the teaching, some of the writing, some of the things we see on social media, the negativity, and we really want to be helped. What should we do?
I think it's so important that we be honest with ourselves, and realize and come clean. That's why we teach people have an accountability partner. If you are married, your spouse is someone good that you can bounce things off, and they'll check you or something. I think it comes a point in time we can no longer hide behind the mask or hide behind just the things that we do. If we are a people pleaser, let's find out why. And let's figure out how we can stop that, because we have to be our true, authentic selves. And we're flawed. We're not perfect. None of us are. And we have to accept that. And I think when people realize that, they will say, you know, I'm sorry, I've done something, or come clean with the situation, because we want to live a quality life, and we want to be, we want to have longevity. We want to make a difference with people. We want to raise our families. We want to be successful. But you have to understand, we're not perfect. And it is okay not to be perfect.
Okay.
It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to sit down somewhere and reset and let me get myself together.
So
it's okay to do that.
So I'm not unsaved
That's
because
right.
I tell the truth
Right.
about how I'm feeling here.
Yes.
Right. And kind of guard your vulnerability.
Okay.
Tell somebody, but
Yes.
tell someone you trust.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Don't just tell anybody. And if you don't have anybody you trust, there's plenty of professionals
right.
who are legally obligated to keep it to themselves.
Gotcha.
That's right.
So when I say blessed and highly favored, what's another one? I'm so good. I'm feel so good. I got to be twins.
Yeah.
Some of those kind of things that people say.
And so that's what happens in the churches as well, or in leadership. We can see it all over the world. People that are not truthful, and then they don't have anybody. They're bleeding in front of people because they didn't know how to be vulnerable with the right person. You don't blab everything on Facebook. Facebook is not designed for you to live on Facebook and tell your story. That is one of the biggest mistakes that you make. Sometimes I'll read things and I just cringe. I'm thinking, what is going on? Well, who hurt you? Stop it. You need to listen to somebody.
Yeah.
But sometimes people have a hard time accepting, either they're going way too far or not going far enough. You need to have balance in your life. That's why it's so important that you have leaders, or you have people that you can trust, that you have a good foundation, so you don't present the wrong image, because that will follow you. And then that's not sustainable if you can't do that, can't keep that facade up.
Yeah.
Right. And
Go ahead.
no, I just had one comment on that. Sure. And you have to be really careful, especially leaders. And when I say leaders, that can be church leaders or government leaders or just leaders in a home. Because we all know, we've been there before, especially we're in that leadership position. If we really be truthful and take away the mask and talk about some of our concerns, that will disrupt the atmosphere of a church, of a home. And so you have to be careful on who you disclose to.
That's right.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, just don't get in front of the pulpit and say, hey,
No.
you know, or in front of your family and say, hey, there's no money in the house, and I'm too depressed to know how to get it. Ain't nobody going to bed that night and sleeping.
No.
We always say to pastors, don't bleed on those you
Right.
lead.
That's right.
You
Absolutely.
can't bleed on those you lead. And
Absolutely.
that's the key to growing in your relationship. And then having good mentors. I can't get away from it, and I think that's something that we need to constantly remind leaders of. And we see it too often especially in our government right now. It's a sad state of affairs. I'm not going to jump on that,
Right.
but it's a sad state of affairs when we start to see the people that should be examples to us becoming so far away from
Right.
being helped themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that. People who carry this battle in silence, and how vulnerable they become, because we know the facade is going to, eventually that mask is going to fall off, crack, or something's going to happen. We're going to see that. So,
It leads to all kinds of mental health illnesses.
Yes. Such as depression, anxiety, exhaustion, guilt, addiction, suicidal thoughts, trauma history. So we don't want to end up like that. We
Okay.
see it so much, especially in the public eye, but you have to go to somebody and get the help that you need. But it will lead to these chronic illnesses that people think, well, I'm okay. And sometimes they go so far that there's no returning from that. And so that's why it's so important to have a mentor or somebody you can talk to before it gets to that point where the bottom falls out.
okay. So, Tim, let's talk about then again the warning signs that we start to, when we ought to be able to pay attention to say, okay, here's some things I need to know about myself. Even though we said in the very beginning, no one knows me better than me. But if I learn to start to believe, the Bible tells us in Romans that I can live a lie so long that I can start to believe that lie. And I've turned over to a mind that's reprobate to truth. So I need some
warning signs
Yeah.
and letting you know that maybe your mental health is failing you.
Okay.
You know, and that most noticeable would probably be the emotional signs.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
you become irritable to where in the past you weren't. your fuse is short.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or are you always feeling negative, always feeling sad, hopeless, and you can't pull yourself out of it?
Okay.
You know, and you look and you self-awareness say, I wasn't like this before.
Right.
Why am I so negative?
Right.
And it may take you a while to realize that. Some of it takes months, and you're like, hey.
Yes.
And hopefully with the help of the Holy Spirit, He shows you that
right.
there's a problem.
Right.
But there's some other ones as well.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, when we start go ahead.
Well, some of the other changes may be cognitive changes. If you have a hard time concentrating, making decisions, your thought processes, frequent thoughts of self-harm, that's a big one, or harming others. Those are some cognitive changes that a person, are warning signs that your body is giving you. But there again, it always falls back to talking to someone, being open to allowing someone to talk to you. As in church, we say being ministered to. You know, as a prayer goes forth, God speaks to our heart. But sometimes there's people that need to speak into your life and say, young lady, young man, I see some things in you, you know, and if we don't address these issues, you're going down the wrong path. But people have to be open to correction. Sometimes that's a problem. I'm grown. You can't tell me anything. Somebody has got to help you some way or another. That's what we fall sometimes there as well.
Let's back up to self-help, Tim, before you go next. I mean, self-harm. I'm talking to someone even now who's very healthy, understand mindsets and foods, taught me a lot about different things. But I watched them start picking up foods they shouldn't be eating. But I also been talking with them about the stress they're under due to the fact that their mom is going through something, there's dementia going on. So when we say self-harm, I'm not talking on the point of drinking poison or killing yourself.
Right.
What about changing the way we eat or not taking care of yourself? Could that be a sign?
That could be a sign, and a lot of times it's not meant for harm. It's
Right.
it's
Meant
that
for comfort.
pseudo
That's right.
compensation by the body to self-medicate.
Okay.
You know, when you eat that piece of cake, it makes you feel pretty good.
Okay.
That's right.
Because it increases those neurotransmitters in your body that makes you feel good.
Okay.
And so sometimes we self-medicate by
Right.
the food we like, the drinks we like, whether alcohol or not. We self-medicate.
Okay.
Not meaning to harm, but excess will harm.
Right.
And we're talking about due to some kind of anxiety, some kind of depression, some form. Okay.
Some form
Absolutely.
of mental
Okay.
health problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it comfort foods for a reason.
That's the word.
Yeah.
That's some comfort food. Okay.
Comfort food. Yeah. Probably one of the biggest things that really, I think this is probably one of the biggest warning signs we really need to look out for because it leads to destruction big time. And that's self-isolation.
Okay.
You'll start with those other ones, but once you get to isolating yourself away from everybody,
Yes.
and it's just you, and like we talked about earlier, just you're the only counselor you have. We as Christians know that you're not the only counselor when you self-isolate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Satan is waiting there to help you out.
That's right. Absolutely.
And he comes to steal, kill, and to destroy. And so you don't want to reach that end game.
Right.
You know, you don't want to reach that.
So you're in a meeting with other people. You're in the household with someone else, but you are, as I say, the front door is open, but you got the screen door locked.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're still
That's
isolated.
That's a good way to look. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
And that's that when people do that, they need someone around them to say, I'm noticing something different about you. And at first the person may be in denial and say, no, you're not. But you know something is different yourself when you start to self-isolate. That in churches, for example, as soon as the benediction, people run to their car. They don't communicate with anybody. They don't shake hands. They're not involved in any extracurricular things we do at the church because they're taking the perception that I'm holier than thou, or I can't touch these people, or I just don't have time. But in their mind, they're really starting to self-isolate. And there's a reason for that. We need to put our finger on why.
Yeah.
When did it start with you? What happened? What changed in your life? And we can try to get to the bottom of that.
Lean into your pain is a saying I used to use. I understand now even more so to why we should use it, or understand if I start really separating myself, the problem from the person, and noticing, okay, you were not like this, as you said a couple of months ago.
That's right.
What's trending in your life?
Right.
Another one is, I'm talking about it today because I told Tim when he got out of the car how you feeling. He said, I'm all right, but I didn't get much sleep last night. Something was on my mind, woke me up. Okay, that's just one time. We're not going to say it's that because I had that one incident that I'm depressed. However,
absolutely,
I need to pay attention to
the patterns.
The patterns.
Yeah, the patterns.
Okay.
The patterns,
That's
for sure.
right. That's right. And some people don't, they think they don't need sleep. If a person functions with 2 or 3 hours a night, that's an issue as well. Our body needs sleep. It needs time to heal and to repair itself.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. This is good. In case you're wondering, we're still in the studios with Dr. Tim Newsom from Creative Mind Health and Body and Mind, and also with soon-to-be doctor. She's working on a doctorate, Elder Regina Wesley from A Place for Us, counselor and consultant agency. These people will come to your church, to your business, to talk with you, set up workshops with you as well, or you can come to see them. If what we're talking about is something that you are recognizing in your own life, I need some help. I need to talk to someone. Confidentially, I trust these two people. They have helped us in our church, helped me personally as well. So please don't just talk about, I want to do better. Do better. Right. Take that first step and talk with someone. And if they can't help you in your church, your pastor, or someone you don't feel confident, don't have confidence in them, get some professional help. Okay, that's what we're recommending here today.
Yeah, and one of the first places you can go that's really easy, and there's so many resources located on it. If you just dial 988.
Okay.
Any mental health concern you have, they will lead you in the right direction.
That's right.
It's the mental health version of 911. Just dial 988.
Right.
Good. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Regina. Anything else?
I would say as well, people in our churches, particularly, they know that we work with mental health, but if they don't feel comfortable even seeing us as a client, we can always refer them to someone else, because even though we are bound by law to keep confidentiality, people still don't feel comfortable with that. So I tell people, I don't have to be your counselor, but I can find resources for you and try to help you and point you in the right direction.
Okay. We got about 5 minutes or so before we have to break, but I want to go to this screen you showed with us about the number of people and adults and percentages and locations, the kinds of leadership that struggle with some of these things. So share with us, because I don't think a lot of the people who are listening to us realize how serious anxiety and mental health is in our leadership as well.
Yeah. Okay. So statistically, leadership is vulnerable to mental health issues. A survey done in 2020 shows that 18% of pastors actually contemplated self-harm or suicide. And I know that's surprising, but it's very true in society, as well as 15% of clergy reported some type of anxiety or depressive symptoms. So these people are human as well. But statistically, for cultural wise speaking, Black Americans or African Americans have been stigmatized to going out to search for help in the mental health arena.
Right.
Okay.
We are tied to cultural norms of let's go ask grandpa, uncle, aunt, and tribal knowledge has taken us a long way, and it's strong and it's healthy, and we have a great history. But there is some science that we need to embrace if we are to make that next step in closing the gap, because compared to other people in society, we are far behind when it comes to seeking mental help in the professional realm.
And I'll say, is in addition to that, that's why it's so important as leaders, when we're in churches, our leaders are human, just like we are. And so if we do our part as lay members to take care of things that we can take care of ourselves, be the best version of ourselves, be true to who we are, we'll take the load off of them. You should not run to your clergy for every single thing. Some things we can do for ourselves. If we are believers, we trust God as well. We can pray for ourselves. Now, you always should go seek help if there's things you need, but you should not burden your clergy with minor things that's going to elongate their stress level. They got more important things to deal with, and we have to honor and respect them for that.
That's good.
And I challenge clergy to be totally holistic in their approach to helping people. You will tell a congregation member in a minute to go to your doctor if your stomach hurt or you have high blood pressure. But when they come to you with some mental health illness, you'll tell them to pray about it.
Come on.
You
That's
know,
right.
Yeah.
there's some professional scientific help that's been proven that you can send them to when it comes to the mental health arena.
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful glad you brought that up, because I'm sitting here thinking as Jethro was talking to Moses, and Moses was trying to deal with all these people and all their issues at the same time, big, little, and Jethro said these words, Moses, you take too much on yourself. That's a powerful statement, that you've got people among you that can handle some of these
That's
things.
right.
You need to handle just the big issues there.
Exactly.
Your role is too important. Now, I'm looking at these, ladies and gentlemen, these surveys, numbers we're giving you come from legitimate companies like Barna Group. They are known for their abilities to give you good surveys, Lifeway Research. And I was looking at the one you had, Lifeway Research, said that 63% of pastors said stress was a mental challenge in their ministry, and 48 cited discouragement. 18% reported that depression as a mental challenge. So we're seeing this among our leadership, especially in our church, and we got to have our pastors at the top of their game.
That's right.
Because when we start dealing with the spiritual warfare that's out here, we need them to be at their best. So, listen, thank you all for doing what you're doing. I told you it's going to be a part 2, right?
Yes.
I got a whole lot more screens. I don't know how many you had. I got a whole lot more questions coming out of my mind at you guys. But again, thank you, Dr. Tim Newsom from Curative Mind Health, and also Regina Wesley from A Place for Us. We appreciate them being here with us. Hey, give them your phone numbers one more time slowly so that we can record that in case somebody want to call you. At the Curative Mind Health, the number is?
The number is 910-491-0166.
Okay, and from A Place for Us?
The number is 910-850-4845, and I am located at 2915 Rayford Road, Suite 100, right here in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Your address, Tim?
2911 Breezewood Road, Suite 201.
Okay, they're right. They almost can throw a rock from one place to hit the other. So you make sure that you see them if you need help. Listen, the only thing the evil needs to triumph is for good men and women like you to do nothing. Bye-bye.